It's a shocking moment in American history in the context of this race and in the context of the messaging, almost universal, unless you're a fan of Donald Trump's or a fair cover of him like you are, about the messaging around him, the rhetoric around him. I'm not blaming this on rhetoric, but we would be derelict if we did not mention how it has been dialed up. And in particular, it has been dialed up as I think the left feels this election starting to slip away. That's not to say that caused this. We don't know who pulled the trigger. It's just there's been an atmosphere around this guy that has been dialed to an 11 for far too long. And many of us believed it was only a matter of time before someone acted on it. Stunning pictures here. This one is of President Trump on the ground, bloody, with his hand nearby his face, trying to recover from what could have been an assassination. Your thoughts on what we're witnessing today?
I want to weep for my country. It's just, it's horrible. There are no words for how terrible this is and how more terrible it could have been. I mean, we were centimeter, how far away from President Trump's head being blown off at a rally on live television. And these are moments, Megyn, the reason why, assassinations fascinate people, one of the reasons, history telescopes down to inches and seconds, right? If JFK's driver had sped up rather than slow down to see what was happening after the first one or two shots, JFK would have survived that assassination attempt. If the Archduke Ferdinand, they threw a bomb at him, which didn't work. If he just said, we're not doing anything else, but he had kind of a Trump-like spirit. It's like, we're going through this whole ceremony in Sarajevo, I don't care. And when he was heading back, actually when we go to the hospital to see the people hurt from the bomb, if the car had not made a wrong turn down a narrow street that it couldn't get out of, that it happened to be that Gabriel Princip, one of the assassination team, was just standing there not knowing what to do, was standing right there at that moment, he would have lived, and all of history would have been different. That was the most consequential assassination in world history. But that moment of Trump pumping his fist shows what a sense of the moment, right? We get in fender benders where your head goes back a little bit and you're kind of shocked. You don't know what happened to you, or it takes a little while to get your senses. To know that what that moment called for was strength and reassuring his supporters. When you're right, how does he know? The Secret Service thinks the threat's been neutralized. That's why they're picking him up. How does he know, right? He's just been inches from being killed. How does he know? That is an image that will live throughout American political history.
Rich, I don't know about you, but I feel infuriated right now. I am angry over what has been done to this man. You and I sat together in 2015 and National Review said, not Trump, not this guy. Here we are all these years later. I see him so differently. Yes, he's got character flaws, of course, but this is the embodiment of strength in the face of an unbelievable onslaught, emotional, financial, when it comes to his freedom, and now his life, literally with a bullet having shot him in the head. His fist is in the air and he's telling the crowd and all of us, fight for your country, fight for what we're all in this for. Don't let them shoot you down. Don't let them shoot down your ideals. Don't let them ruin the country. I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah. So high politics is about, it's about policy and ideas, but a lot of it's about emotion. And this is a guy, one reason we couldn't stop him when we tried in the primaries in 2016 is he understood a crowd. He understood the moment. He got feeling and could play off of it. And this is just the very pinnacle of this. That was just an epic reaction. And again, it will never be forgotten. And what you opened with on the rhetoric, who knows who the shooter was? But if you literally think he's Hitler, that's what they're telling us, right? The president of the United States, incumbent, is telling us that, and maybe in not so many words. What's the proper reaction? Just voting against him and hoping things turn out right? If you take it seriously, I think we've learned a lot of Democrats actually don't take it seriously, but unfortunately, a lot of people do. If you take it seriously, what do you do? If it's existential for American democracy, for our system of government, our way of life, what do? Maybe you do whoever that apparent shooter on the rooftop. Maybe you do what he did.
There is video, I don't know if we have it or can show it, of a shooter, forgive me, we don't know that this is the shooter, of what appears to be a man lying on a rooftop nearby, and the reports online are that that's the shooter and he's dead. He's motionless and he's lying down. I've spoken with somebody who was at the rally, and we're going to have him call in talking about the security, but it was tight, as it would be for any Secret Service event with the former president, never mind the leading contender for the GOP nomination, which of course takes place next week as a formal matter. And so this person, in order to have a gun, Rich, anywhere near shooting range of this president,
yeah,
I mean, it does make you wonder how he did it, whether he had help, how on earth anybody was within shooting range of this man, Donald Trump, from a rooftop. All of that is going to be investigated. But you've got to say kudos to local law enforcement or the Secret Service, whoever took this guy out, because it all happened in seconds.
Yeah. So all the professionals say, and it just seems as though, just watching as an amateur, their reaction to this was pitch perfect. I mean, they immediately go on Trump. They're protecting him with their bodies, which inherently moving act, putting themselves on the line. But there are going to be questions. According to Twitter, who knows? Things are going to change. We're going to learn more. As we speak. Just during this segment, probably we're learning more. But how is it? There are indications that people are pointing to this guy on the rooftop, and he got the shots off before the Secret Service got him. Maybe it was unavoidable. Who knows? But there are going to be a lot of questions. So it looks like the reaction was a Secret Service success, but I think there'd be questions about how this guy was able to get within range. And initially, it seemed like there's some speculation. Maybe it's a BB, because when you get shot in your ear, it's not just a little blood, right? It's a horrible event. And it seemed as though no one else was hurt. But now, of course, we've gotten the reports of other people in the crowd tragically hurt. We've seen that video of the Trump supporter who was there, and his emergency room doctor, I believe, was trying to save someone with a grievous head wound and didn't. So this was a furious assassination attempt. And if anyone comes this close to being killed that's under Secret Service protections, there are going to be a lot of critical questions afterwards.
We have that video. Again, this is of an ER doctor who was on the scene. Let's take a listen.
That's exactly where I heard him come from.
What did you see, sir?
I heard the shots. I thought it was firecrackers to begin with. Somebody over there was screaming, he's been shot. So I made my way over. I said, I'm an emergency department physician. Let me help you. The guy had spun around, was jammed between the benches. He had a headshot here. There was lots of blood, and he had brain matter.
Oh, no.
And so I got him. There's a helicopter coming in to get him. I got people there really helpful. I got
Was there only one person shot that you saw?
Then I did CPR, did chest compressions, as well as I breathed for him.
One person?
I was the only one
you
that
guys,
did
we
it.
need to evacuate everybody.
Oh, that's horrible. I mean, that is horrifying, Rich. And we don't know it. We don't have the angle straight, but clearly, as you point out, within a couple of centimeters, that could have been President Trump. And God, prayers go out to the family of the Trump supporter. That's how it appears, who was shot and killed, just there to support a president in advance of an election, not to have his brain matter spilled out all over the ground. What is this country coming to, Rich?
Yeah, talk about an offense against American democracy, to attend what's become kind of a civic ritual for half the country, these Trump rallies, which are so epic and iconic, and be killed is just, it's beyond words. It's just horrific and profoundly wrong. And again, we're tremendously lucky that Trump himself wasn't killed. And it'd be a human tragedy, a family tragedy, just for him and the people around him. But it would just be an unbelievably awful thing for the country, because these assassinations, they are deranging events, and our politics is deranged already. It would get much, much worse. I mean, we're still arguing over who killed JFK, right? 50 or 60 years later. So this is why it's extremely important to make sure this never, ever happens. And whatever these security arrangements were going into this, obviously they need to be heightened. But Trump, there was a big thing on the January 6th commission. Oh, he didn't want the people to be magged or to go through electric detectors on January 6th. It's because he wants to be out there. He wants the crowd to be big and to have a good time and not have to wait forever. And he trusts them, right? The reason when this was a big scandal that Trump supposedly wanted people to bring weapons in proximity to the Capitol, someone was telling me he always joked with the Secret Service about, these are my people, just let them in, it'll be fine. But anyone who's out there in any crowd like that, no matter how much Secret Service protection is, you are ultimately putting your body on the line. And we saw this dramatic evidence of that this afternoon.
And Rich, here is the report that I got from, he is the father of my friend. His name is Larry Wood. And he said that there were tens of thousands there by his estimation, that he heard a single gunshot. He and his wife were seated farther back, then another, then a pause, and then the rapid fire, that there were state police everywhere. And I asked him about the security, and he said it was tight and that they were forced to go through a magnetometer. And even they, as an older couple, were not allowed to bring in, his wife had a long umbrella and she couldn't bring it in, right? So they understand it always amps up when the former president is there, and it amps up even more as he inches closer and closer to becoming the nominee again. So they wouldn't let her in with the long umbrella. So they had to be seated farther back. And then they saw what we saw, which was he appeared to get hit from on the right side from a shooter who was off to the right. And then the crowd went nuts. I mean, people started to realize, he started to realize, he said first he thought it was maybe fireworks. He wasn't sure. And then they realized it was gunshots and that they needed to get out of there. And you think about, it's not just Donald Trump. It's not just this poor Trump supporter who appears to have been murdered today. Forget the shooter. It is the old. It is men and women who are just out there to support their country, their preferred candidate, to show their love of the Stars and Stripes days after July 4th and what they think it stands for by potentially voting for this man. And they get scared to within an inch of their lives running for their safety because they showed up at a Trump rally. That's what they did today. That's what Larry and his wife did today, to show up at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania, the heart of the nation, part of the heartland, and probably the most critical state in this election. As in another universe, Rich, we hear every other day that Trump's Hitler, that he's the demon. We hear from the president himself this week that it's time to put a bullseye on Trump. I'm not blaming this on Joe Biden, but I would be remiss in my duty if I did not point out that he just on July 8th said to a group of Democrats whom he was trying to shore up about his mental acuity, quote, "We're done talking about the debate. It's time to put Trump in a bullseye." The left, the headlines in the New York Times, Rich, when Sarah Palin had what looked like a gun sight on certain districts prior to Gabby Giffords being shot, led to litigation that went on for years about whether she had been the subject of what she called a blood libel. And now you've got the sitting president who's been so loose with his language. He called Kyle Rittenhouse a white supremacist, despite the fact that there was zero evidence for that and none of it was borne out in that trial. And he said it's time to put Trump in a bullseye days ago. It's just totally irresponsible. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.